Alright boys, so this is a little quick video on SCAR and exactly the plans and the future for the truck. So I was going to make a video as far as like an update of the whole thumbnail of this is actually swapping from a Gmt900 to a 900 frame. Literally going from either torsion bar or spring to strut system, no matter if you're two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. 0713 is always going to be rack and pinion and strut, and then so forth as far as the years are going on. But the main reason I wanted to do this because of like 3 or 4 aspects, and then I ended up seeing a guy ended up doing from TikTok, and I know you've seen the video. He has the same truck as me more or less. It's a black cat eye, but his is 4-door. Mine's extended cab, so I was kind of iffy about it possibly working in my situation or in my scenario because of the cab size. But I ended up actually sorting everything out and ended up taking measurements of everything beforehand. Everything seemed to line up, seemed to be good, so I went forth with the whole project or the tear down and swap and all that, and everything is pretty much said and done. I was going to take a video or post videos on YouTube and TikTok at the same time, but to try to do everything in landscape mode, I think that's what you call it, and then proportion or whatever the hell. It's going to be too much storage on my phone, and to try to edit for both of them. So I just said screw it, I'll just update on TikTok. So if there's anything in particular that needs to be talked about on the aspects of the process of whenever I was sending it, to the brake situation, the fuel situation, actually putting the cab on, how that went, brake booster, and anything I can actually use from the Gmt900 or 0713 body, interchange it with this truck as well. So all that's literally on TikTok. So if you have anything, you know, in detail you want to see, just go over there. But from the way SCAR is sitting right now, till this gets done, or till this, you know, running and driving, I'm gonna try to post on YouTube from the way it sits now to the end. I'll try my best to, just with how the work situation is and the very limited time I have now to actually work on it. So just a rundown, if y'all don't know, this is a 2004 Silverado 4-wheel drive truck. So it's a torsion bar system, extended cab, step side. Ended up buying about a year or two ago. Yeah, maybe a year or two ago. Traded it for a 4-wheeler, ended up building it up. I mean, it needed everything. I did as much as I could in a year span. So build the top end, put a cam, the whole shebang, you know, once you do a build, tent, interior, leather seats, painted the interior to black and tan so it can be all like a high country type thing. Audio, stereo, carpet, headliner, all new headlights, taillights, LEDs, lighting, setup, painted the frame, brand new components, just everything you can think of as far as trying to build a truck up. But I didn't really touch on a lot of things, so that's kind of the reason I'm trying to do this. The reason I ended up going this route is because I kind of got bored with the truck, and if I get bored with it, I just end up selling it or just, you know, letting it go downhill as far as not really taking care of it and neglecting it. So once I saw the video of a guy doing the process of changing from, like I said, either, if I didn't mention it, a 99 to 06 frame, which is springs or torsion bar, to 0713, which is always going to be strut and rack and pinion. That's the reason I did it, just for the simple fact of maybe like 3 or 4 key aspects. First one is transmission. So this truck in particular, 4-wheel drive trucks, to take a transmission out at home or in any kind of shop or anything like that, it's not really as simple as a 2-wheel drive where you just unbolt it, bring it back about 2-3 inches and drop it down. Your torsion bar bracket actually comes and interferes with you to try to, you know, take that completely down straight. So I got one right here. So this is another one that I had, but obviously your transmission and your transfer cases, all that is real long. Your torsion bar bracket that goes across from both sides where your keys are at sits literally about right here. So you can't just come straight down with it. So the way I did it, which was a pain in the ass, was to actually unbolt it, slide it back as far as I could, enough to tilt it down to pass the motor, and then kind of sneak it out. So literally like this, like that, and then straight down. And trying to do that in-house with no transmission jack, just literally floor jacks and retro straps, it was a pain in the ass because it is real long and it's real awkward. I'm trying to balance everything. So the good thing on these 07 to 13s, the transmission brace, or whatever you want to call it, that goes across from one side to the other as far as the frame, is pushed back more, so you're never going to run into the issue of having that problem whenever you try to take your transmission out or swap it over or whatever the case may be. And this is more simpler if I ever want to convert to two-wheel drive or stick with four-wheel drive. Literally, no issues there. Just have the proper drive shaft and that's it. Another key aspect is the main thing is suspension. So 99 to 06, same thing, spring and torsion bar systems, you're real limited on what you can do as far as height and drop and the whole shebang. The aftermarket support for those frames is not really a lot. 6 inches for a two-wheel drive ain't really 6 inches, and that's whenever you have to do you know, stack a level and then bigger coils and change the coilover system. So if you have a two-wheel drive, more reason to do a 0713 frame swap. If you're really trying to go tall, just to kind of fight that, because I mean, you can do a big lift, show off lift, but I think FTS lift for a two-wheel drive is usually like $4,000, and it's just black and everything's just dropped down, which you could also honestly just basically, it's not a real kit out there to go real tall. You're gonna have to piece different brands and shit like that, and go from coilovers to coils to coilovers and crank them up and all that bullshit and spindle lifts. So that's kind of the reason why I ended up doing this. Another reason is because like I said, suspension and the steering. So being a four-wheel drive truck, you're always gonna have a torsion bar and gearbox. So on these trucks, you're always gonna have steering wheel play. To this day, I still have a little bit of steering wheel play, but I kind of fixed that with tightening up the steering on the I think it's like a torch bit, but end up tightening that, so kind of minimal. But if you ever have steering wheel play, it's going to be 5 components, which is your inner, outer, gearbox, if you want to consider that being loose, pinion arm and outer arm on these four-wheel drive trucks. That's 5 components you got to replace if you want to have better steering. Well, on these, it's just inner and outer, and that's it. And then obviously your rack and pinion. So to get, you know, your alignment better, or, you know, less components wear out over time, is just going to be cut down from 5 to 2. And then the gearbox aspect, it don't matter if you have a brand new one, reman one from the parts store, or a built one. I think it's called like Redhead or something like that. You're always going to have steering wheel play, and you're real limited as far as what you can do as far as lifting it, being torsion bar. So that's another reason I wanted up swapping over. And then just like I said, curiosity. I got bored with the truck. I didn't want to go downhill with it. I do actually plan on keeping the truck for a good amount of years, because I did build this from the ground up and actually put a little bit more money into this truck, I think, and time, than the previous builds that I've done. So the truck is here to stay for a while. So the current state right now is the truck is actually sitting on the Gmt900 frame, so 0713. Everything lined up. I'll try to, you know, show y'all quick videos or go walk around of how everything's more or less the key aspects I need to touch base on as far as right now, and then further videos will just be updates. So there's no motor, 5.3 LX6 acceleration cam, I think Beehive springs, Johnson lifters, Millen oil pump was the only thing I did as far as the top end. So right now I'm actually doing the bottom end, so getting machine work, a light hone, just because of I had oil consumption and a lot of vacuum in the motor. So if I took a round trip for like 3 hours, then 3 hours I have to top it off, and then 3 hours back, top it off again with the quartz. So it was kind of annoying. So what I ended up doing is getting the motor redone, and then I'm actually converting from 460 to a 5-speed. So I ended up having a 5-speed, and I'll show that a little bit in the back of the yard for the longest. Then I have no use for it. I just kept it, and then I had a round eye, and then I ended up having this one. And the good thing is that transmission came out of a four-wheel drive truck, and this is a four-wheel drive truck, so I can literally just swap the transfer case and that's it. But I'll touch base on exactly what the parts you need to be able to convert, and I'm still in the process of doing that, converting. I just have to wait until I would say a manufacturer is back in stock, so I can go off of them pieces and really have everything dialed in like I need to. But as you can see, which I'll start rambling on and actually show y'all. '06 cat eye, whatever you want to call it, on a 0713 frame. Everything was pretty straightforward as far as mounting. Everything mounted the same. The biggest thing I was kind of worried about, which was the cab, which was the cab to core support length, and then width, if this core support was going to work. So everything ended up lining up no problem. All the body lines are exactly how they used to be, as far as the cab and the fenders, and then the body line for the bed to the cab is pretty much the same. The only thing I probably noticed is just you have a little bit more of a gap between the cab and the bed, but that's nothing major. So I usually go, whenever I build my trucks, I go through the process of taking everything apart. So if, like I said, if I don't know if I have any kind of videos as far as for YouTube to show y'all, but if you want to go into depth and actually see the whole process little by little, you just go on my TikTok. And you know, I literally took a truck apart to bare frame, down to nut, and pressure washed it, degreased it the whole 9, and then painted it all black, and then went through the whole fuel system, how I was going to go with that. The biggest thing was the brakes. Trying to convert from the ABS module to this newer style brake lines, because you can't really use the ones off of the 99 to 06. You can, but nothing's going to really line up. You're either going to stretch them, or so your 99 to 06, your brake line, I think, comes to right here or right here where your strut is at, or I mean your shock is at for your torsion bar systems. 07 to 13 is literally behind the control arm, so it was going to be too short, and then try to convert it. So what I ended up doing is just using the 07 to 13 hard lines, brake lines, and then ended up kind of splicing them together from 99 to 06 to 07 to 13 right here in this cab section. And what I actually ended up using, like I said, you can just go on TikTok. Ended up using is this right here, quarter, and then ended up doing the process of double flaring them and basically mating them together, union, whatever you want to call it. Another thing is switching up from the exhaust. So ended up buying 3 extended cabs. One was, all of them were 2007, all of them were 5.3s and all that. So the first one ended up buying was the same color. Ended up having some frame damage in the front where the bumper bracket's at. Wasn't really a big issue, because I know you have to cut it from the videos I saw from the guy on TikTok. Cut it and then kind of weld your other bumper bracket from your other frame on there, so I wasn't really worried about that. But once I got to the process of actually stripping everything down and actually pressure washing everything, I saw a buckle on the back side of the driver's side, which was in this area. I think right here. There was a buckle right here on the other side. And I didn't want to risk it as far as putting my time and money into actually trying to put all this together and the truck not drive straight, or it crab walks, or it can't really get an alignment, or the control arms, or whatever the case was. So I ended up buying another truck from Florida. It was a white one. And the good thing that this one is the one I'm using, and it's a forward drive truck. So if I want to convert back to forward drive, because I did have the transfer case, well, I did have the front diff out whenever I built the truck because I didn't have no use for it. And it's just more weight, and the electrical stuff with these trucks is kind of iffy, so trying to get it dialed in to make the forward drive work was going to be a pain in the ass. So I just obsoleted it and took it out and just ran cut CVs in it for the meantime. But if I want to convert back to forward drive or all-wheel drive, however you want to go about it, I can do that with the brackets already in place. And then end up buying another 07 Silverado extended cab, which was red. And that truck is where I robbed most of the parts of, as far as the suspension and the exhaust. So my previous exhaust was original piping, and it was a tip coming out the front of that passenger, or the front of the passenger side tire, whatever you want to call it, right here in this area. I ended up gutting the cats, and it was annoying on highway and the drone and all that. So I ended up robbing the exhaust off of that 07, which is still got the cats, true dual, all the way back to the bumper. We're gonna see how that sounds. Ended up robbing the whole suspension from that truck. It was relatively brand new whenever I brought it. Those 3 trucks bought for dirt cheap, made my money's worth, pocketed some more, and then just took whatever I needed to make one. So that truck, the red truck, already had a spindle lift, brand new struts, these upper control arms, and then brand new ball joints. All I did was just literally pressure wash and degrease everything, give it a little spray paint, a little coat. So right now it's sitting pretty tall. It is maxed out for the simple fact there's no weight of the motor or transmission, and I haven't driven it, so it's going to need a settle. But it's a 3-inch top level, brand new struts. So, you know, there's not going to really be a difference as far as, there's going to be a difference between brand new ones and used ones as far as, you know, the height and all that. But 3-inch top level, rough country bottom, and then if I'm not mistaken, a 3-inch lift spindle. I'm not exactly sure the brand, but it already came on the truck. Got 2-inch spacers all the way around, non-hub centric, and the biggest thing I'm really kind of work on is converting, like I said, from automatic to manual. This is the actual transmission that I had thrown in the back for a couple years, and you know, might as well do it. You know, I've seen a couple videos of people doing it, and kind of want to, you know, have fun with a stick shift. So end up changing the transfer case, and so we'll be able to use that. Little quick spray paint. End up buying this new slave cylinder, and then just like I said, this is just a quick rundown. You need the slave cylinder, and then you need your proper hardware, clutch, flywheel. Supposedly this is the right one from the one I need to use for my 5.3. Like I said, everything's on my TikTok as far as kind of touching base on that. But the proper hardware from Summit Racing, you have to get the master cylinder. You got to make the hole, which is 2.5. There's already a pilot hole there, or a little divot where you go off of. Can't really see in the truck, but the third pedal's there, and then I already made the hole for the stick. So I'm not going to use the stick how you would traditionally use it. I know I've seen kits and people kind of use remote shifters, or, you know, if you have a center console, which I do, which I know you can't really see, but it relocates it right here where this little air duct is at for your driver's side. The bracket that goes here, and it goes straight up, and you can actually reuse or use your factory center console. And this is just a test one that I had laying around, but what you have to do is cut this portion out of the storage compartment. You still be able to keep the cubby portion for your cups, and then it really sticks out somewhere right in here, and then you just buy a boot to cover all that up, and you know, you can do everything there instead of having that big ass stick in the vehicle. Another thing I ended up reusing is the master cylinder and brake booster from the 07 to 13 truck. Everything's the same as far as the mounting for a cat eye. The rod length is the same and all that, so there's no issue there. As well as, I'm trying to think real quick what I do plan on doing. As far as the final product is just skipping on the wheel lights because of trying to get these 15s to fit on there, which I'll show you in a little bit. But yeah, another thing is actually getting 15s thrown in here. I said I ended up buying literally like last night. So things that I do want to get done as far as how it sits now, but to be a little bit better than before, is actually skip wheel lights and just do rock lights all the way around to have no shadows. Fix the damage that I did on top whenever I was doing the swap because of the equipment I was using. Like I said, if you want to look on how I did that fuck up TikTok, but get that fixed, get that painted, and then possibly go with just a shave, no third brake light, or just putting it back on there. Rock lights, proper exhaust, new LEDs, new bottom fog lights. Actually get into the audio, get a better amp for the door speakers, actually make my own custom box to do 2 8s at least, the proper amp. Oh, and then another thing I forgot to mention is I ended up converting from the 99 to 06 steering wheel, or 03 to 06 steering wheel on these cat eyes to 07 to 13. Same thing, if you want to see about that, TikTok, I kind of went into depth on converting it. Everything's kind of straightforward. All you have to literally change is just this and a couple wiring you got to do to make that work. But another thing is this truck was originally mechanical fan, and I'm converting to e-fans. Use the radiator out of the 07 to 13 and the e-fans out of a junkyard from I think it's like a 04 Tahoe, and then ended up taking the wiring harness out of that same Tahoe from the junkyard. All you really need is just a relay center, or whatever the fuck it's called, right here in this little area, and then your 2 connectors for your PCM, which is blue and green. I think it's like green 33, blue 42, and then the pigtails for your both sides of the e-fans, and then your ground, and then your power wire that goes to your fuse box. So converting from mechanical to e-fan, the swap on the steering wheel, going from the biggest thing, torsion bar to strut. Everything went pretty smooth on the frame swap. Everything lined up as far as cabs and all that, or cab mounts. Converting from automatic to stick, still in the process, waiting on the motor. And then I know it's a little bit long of a video, but trying to explain everything just because of kind of beat around the bush, but trying to make a video on this for YouTube. So the previous wheels that I had on Scar were 24x14s on 35s. ended up fucking them up and had to get it welded. And then the tire was shot, so I ended up doing an old set of tires that I had, which were 305 35 streets. And then I got tired of those, for the simple fact is they were nowhere near perfect. These are 15 by 12 on 33 1250 Wild Trek Land Spiders. I got all four, and then he didn't want to throw no cash or nothing on top, even though I ended up making a good round trip to go get him. Had him toss in a spare, and then I got spacers, 2-inch spacers, so basically gonna be 14 wide. So if I do have any issues as far as the front is aspect of probably hitting the caliper or something like that, I'll just throw another 1-inch or 1.5-inch spacer, just trying to push that out. The big things that are happening for Scar, like I said, the biggest thing is the frame swap. And to actually get into details, just go to the my TikTok account, and I literally touch base on, you know, different things that you kind of have to look for and deal with whenever you're trying to do this process. Just try to help somebody out. But yeah, right now I'm gonna just literally try to attempt to throw these on here and get a picture or whatever, and see exactly what I need to do as far as, like I said, the spacer situation or the caliper, and that'll be it. So next update will be something possibly about the motor or the transmission, or getting something in or getting something dialed in, but that's it.